As you go about your dating adventure in the Philippines, there's two ways you can go about it. One way, which is the way most expats do it, is they arrive at the Philippines, they just pretty much wing it and see what happens. So they really approach the whole thing without any kind of real plan. They're not really thinking to themselves who they're trying to find. They're just anxious to start dating anybody, and if it turns into a relationship, then so be it. Now, the other way of approaching is before you even ask a woman out in the Philippines, you sit down and you think to yourself, what kind of woman am I looking for? And as I've said so many times, the way that you answer this is first ask yourself, what do you really want? Because when you know what you want, then you know what you're looking for. The problem with just winging it is that you meet women, and as you get to know them and into a relationship, it then comes out that maybe she has 2 or 3 kids. Now, if you're okay with that, you lucked out, that's not going to be a problem. But if you were planning on marrying someone and having kids with her, or having no kids at all, well, now you have to end a relationship that really you never should have started in the first place. And this can happen with so many other factors as well. So what we'll look at today is the second method, which is know what you want and go look for it. Now, the two main categories, if you will, when it comes to dating women in the Philippines, you can bifurcate that into 2 major groups. You're either going to, because of your preference, date younger women, and by younger women, I'm pretty much talking about women between ages 20 and 35. So for our purposes here, we're talking about women 20 through 35. I know some guys want to date women 18 and 19, but those come with even more exaggerated issues to deal with. It would take a whole other video for me to cover that. So we're just going to focus on younger women ages 20 through 35. That's one choice. The other choice is women 35 and older, and we'll refer to them as the older women. It's up to you to decide which pros or cons are most important to you, because there is no cookie cutter answer to what's best for everybody. That doesn't exist. Some men, the answer to this question is younger women. Other men, the answer to this question is older women. So let's take a look at the pros and cons of each, and then you decide who are you going to seek out when you begin dating in the Philippines. Now we'll start with younger women, women aged 20 to 35. Now, the pro side of all this, when it comes to younger women, of course, the first one being pretty obvious. They're in the full bloom of their beauty. They're very attractive. Another positive benefit of dating and getting involved with a younger woman is their energy. They've got lots of energy, and that energy, I have found, fuses into my life. It keeps me from settling into a rut. For instance, I'll tell you right now, just yesterday, now my wife and I, we have a 35-year age gap between us. When I woke up in the morning, in my mind, I was kind of thinking, well, I'll just go ahead and do some editing here at the house. After we finished breakfast, she said, well, it's such a beautiful day and it's sunny. I checked the tide on the internet. Let's go to the beach. And I thought to myself, you know, I have been working pretty much every single day. We could use a day at the beach. So off we went, and we had a wonderful time. In fact, we met with one of you viewers, spent the afternoon, had a beer, just talked, we swam, had a great day. We didn't even come home till like almost dark. So being with a younger woman, there's the benefit that they're beautiful, and most men can appreciate a beautiful woman. They're energetic, and the third positive is that they're teachable. And we'll get into that more here in a moment, why this is important. But they're teachable. They don't have a whole lot of life experience. And so you're the one who is going to help them understand a more mature outlook on life when it comes to just about everything. How to handle money, how to have a relationship. There's so many facets of life that we can help them along. And for the most part, every younger woman that I've ever dated was very open to the idea of learning from my experiences. Now let's look at the negatives when it comes to being with a younger woman age 20 to 35. One of the first negatives is the flip side of being teachable, is that they are often immature. They are immature emotionally. Now, when they're happy, they're extremely happy. Same thing when they're joyful or they're passionate. But they also, because they're young and immature, they can be irrational, emotionally unstable. And it's the kind of silly things that you probably remember about girls back when you were in high school. And so don't expect, here's a rule you can keep in mind that I have shared with so many other men. Don't date a 22-year-old and expect her to behave like a 40-year-old. Do not expect that, because it's not going to happen. You are going to have to mentor her along emotionally to get a grip, learn to calm down, think things through logically. This is a huge task when you're dealing with a younger woman. Which brings us to the second negative, which is you're going to need a whole lot of patience. Because even though they're energetic and they want to do stuff, you're going to have the patience and the moderate temper to be able to hear her say, hey, let's go out, let's go to the beach, let's do this, let's do that, and be able to say one day, yeah, that's a great idea, let's do that, and another day, no, I really don't feel like it. So you're going to have to deal with her emotions as you set boundaries for the type of lifestyle that you want to have. If you're kind of set in your ways and you really don't want to be very active, do not get involved with a younger woman. You won't be able to keep up with her. And I'm not just talking about in the bedroom. I'm talking about if she wants to be out of the house at least twice a week and do something, whether it's going to the beach, going to the movies, zip lining, whatever it is, in her eyes, you're going to be a real drag if you don't want to keep up with her. If you're constantly telling her, no, let's just stay home, and no, let's just watch some TV, or, they're going to be bored out of their mind. And I'm sure you've heard of guys who they finally just give up and they tell their younger wife or younger girlfriend living with them, well, no, you go find some of your girlfriends, you go to the beach, I'm staying home. Well, one thing leads to another, and next thing you know, she's got a new boyfriend. So the downside is, with a younger woman, they're going to be immature, expect it. You're going to need a whole lot of patience, and they are not going to be very knowledgeable. They might not even know how to use an ATM card, let alone how to manage money. You're going to have to teach them all this. So there's some pros and cons to keep in mind before you decide, okay, what I want is a really hot 22-year-old and life's going to be great. Look at both sides of what you're signing up for. So now let's look at older women who are 35 and older. Now, probably the first thing you're thinking is, well, if I go with an older woman, she's not going to be as hot as a younger Filipina. Well, I have dated several Filipina women, 49 years old, who actually were every bit as beautiful and a whole lot more passionate. I won't go into detail, but they were not shy and they knew what they were doing. It was pretty awesome. So before you write off the idea of dating an older woman, keep in mind, you can, if what you're looking for is this, you can find an older Filipina woman who is very attractive and very passionate. The other benefit, second benefit to dating an older woman is she is more mature. She has life experience. She has maybe even traveled abroad. But even if she hasn't, She's been around the block several times. She knows what the score is. And she's going to be able to help you when it comes to finance, dealing in transactions in the Philippines, how to barter in their language. She can be a huge asset. Whereas the younger woman, she has no experience doing any of that. The third benefit in dating an older woman is she is more knowledgeable. Again, she's been around the block a few times. She knows a bit more usually about what's going on in the world at large. And one other benefit is if she did have kids, those kids are pretty much halfway out the door. Her kids are already 15, 16, 17, 18. And depending on how old she is, her kids might already be 22 and moved out of the house. So if you're a guy that doesn't want to deal with diapers and screaming and terrible twos and all that kind of stuff, an older woman has that benefit of older kids. Now let's look at the negatives of building a long-term relationship with, say, an older woman over 35. The number one is health issues. Because she's older, same thing with you. As you get older, you're going to start having health issues. Now, it might be very minor issues, but you are going to end up visiting the doctor every now and then, and hey, you know, my blood glucose is high, or my blood pressure is high, or my joints ache. Whatever it is, older age comes with an increase in health issues. So not only are you going to have your health issues to deal with, you're going to need to accommodate for the expense of handling her medical issues as she gets older. Another one that's pretty unavoidable is menopause. Now, for those of you who've never really looked into what menopause is, maybe you heard it in passing, but the chief thing that you want to be concerned with is that when a woman goes a full year without a menstrual period, she is then considered to be menopausal. She's basically out of the baby-making business, which means that the two hormones, one is estrogen, I forget what the other one was, but these two hormones that operate in a younger woman to start and stop her fertility cycle with her ovaries and her uterus are now shutting down. And one of the side effects in menopause is a decrease in sexual libido. She's not going to be as passionate as she used to be, but we're talking about postmenopausal. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, if you're a guy who has ED and your own libido is dropping as well, that might be a blessing in disguise. The worst mismatch is an older man who has ED, erectile dysfunction, and he's paired up and married with a younger woman who is in her sexual prime. The third thing to consider with getting involved with an older woman is that, and I have run into this as I've shared before, an older woman, yeah, it's great. She has a whole lot more life experience, but she's also the opposite of the younger woman when it comes to the fact that she is set in her ways. Now, that's kind of a two-edged sword, because if she's set in her ways and she's a kind, compassionate person, you can pretty much bank on the fact that she's not going to change on you. If she's 38, 39, 40 years old, and she's a caring, compassionate person, odds are she's going to stay that way. But the younger girl, who is maybe joyful, full of energy, and a bubbly and a blast to be with, she's going to go through changes in her life as she hits 25, 30, 35, 40. She may not be the same woman 10 years later. So that's something you got to keep in mind. Now, with an older woman, if she's set in her ways, and one of those things is she wants it her way, I guarantee you this is a deal breaker, because you as the man will want to direct the household, making vacation plans, how to spend money. You're going to want to be the final authority on that. But if you're getting hooked up with an older woman who is used to getting her way done, you two are going to bump heads. I have been there, and there's no way I could put up with it. And the only two solutions I see is either A, you recognize that the two of you are not compatible, which is what I did. And I told her, I said, you know what? There can't be two captains on this ship. And you're not willing to be second mate, so we're done. Go find somebody else that will give you your way. And that's the second option, which some men take, is they submit and basically say, okay, you call the shots. I'm just going to go over here and have a beer. You run the finances how you see fit. If you want to buy all new furniture, fine, go ahead. Basically, you give up your authority and you let her wear the pants in the family. Some guys are okay with that. Me, I can't do that. So there's another con or negative about being with an older woman, is that they will be set in their ways. So maybe take out a piece of paper. At the top, put younger on the left, older on the right. Look at the pros and cons of each. And before you start dating, know ahead of time, what do you want? And then when you know what you want, go out and find it. And if you run across a Filipina who is not what you want, move on and find what you're really looking for.